down here. Is there any part of this circle that we know? We know 90, I mean like sides. Are there any sides of this triangle that we already know how long it is? Yeah?
Would the, bottom part be 1?
No, it almost, right? Like it almost goes to 1, but not quite, right? It almost gets there, Thomas? The hypotenuse is 1, because remember it's a unit circle, so every radius is 1. All right, so put that right there. Nice job, Thomas. Okay, so this is getting a little tough now. We got to use these rules to figure out what the rest of them are going to be. All right, so the 1 is on the 2x spot, right? So 2 times whatever it would be is 1. So what's this side? A half. And how about down here? 1/2 times the square root of 3. Do you guys understand this? No? Okay, so you understand that this is a relationship, right? Between a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and that the hypotenuse is 2x. Okay, so if I write here 2x equals 1, then if I wanted to get x by itself, I'd divide by 2 to find out what x is. So that makes this 1/2 over here, because that side is just x. And then this side is you take whatever x is and you multiply it by the square root of 3, which is where Kyle got 1/2 times the square root of 3. But 1/2 times the square root of 3, we're not going to put it in decimal. So we're going to leave this as the square root of 3 over 2. Which you put it in your calculator, right? What did you get? 0.8? Same thing, right? Because
1 is x, right?
what?
1 is x?
Yep. No, 1 is 2x. So put in your calculator the square root of 3 divided by 2. You put in the square root of 3 divided by 2?
Or maybe I did it wrong. 0.866.
Do you have
That's
that?
the first answer I have.
0.866. Now, does that make sense to you guys that this length right here would be about 0.866, right? Almost goes to 1. That makes sense. This is 1 up here. Does that look like that might be about 0.5 on the circle? Yeah, that looks like about right. Okay. Now, this is going to be the hard thing to explain, so I'm going to need you to really focus on me now, okay? If this is the angle we're talking about, please focus on me now. This is a hard one. Probably one of the hardest basic understandings of trig you can get. Okay, where's the hypotenuse? The 1. Which one's adjacent? Square root of 3 over 2, right? That one? And this one's opposite over here, compared to 30, right? You guys with me? This is the one we're talking about? Okay, now cosine is a over h, ka. Do you see, because in the unit circle, that the hypotenuse will always be 1? No matter where you are, right? Can you imagine I'm drawing a whole bunch of these triangles? No matter where, the hypotenuse will always be 1, right? So the cosine just matches this side, because it would be the square root of 3 over 2 divided by 1, which is still the square root of 3 over 2. So the cosine is actually the x value on the unit circle, always. The cosine is always the x value. Yes. And the sine is O over H, which in this case is 1/2 over 1. And the hypotenuse will always be 1, right? So the sine is always the y value. And that's going to be like essential. So we're gonna write it on our unit circle. It's so essential that we're gonna write it on there, okay? The cosine is equal to the x value, always. And the sine is equal to the y value, always. All right, if cosine is x, what is secant? Yes, do you remember how these are opposites of each other's, guys? Remember they're just flipped fractions? And what's cosecant? 1 over y. Here's a hard one though. What's tangent? Yes. How'd you figure that one out? Flipped what? Right, because over here, do you guys see how tangent is sine divided by cosine? And sine is y, and cosine is x? Okay, I'm struggling right now because right now I'm really sure that Kyle knows what I'm talking about. And I'm kind of lost on the rest of you. So I can't tell because I can't see your faces, and right now your eyes are really wide, like you might be upset. So I'm not sure how you're doing with this right now. Is what I'm saying making sense to you so far? Nodding helps. Or saying no, like no's are okay too. Okay, so this one's y over x. So what's cotangent? X over y. Now, it's easy to say, do you guys remember when we were talking on Friday and we were drawing all those triangles and we kept on like labeling sides of the triangles with positive and negative numbers, which really doesn't make sense, right? Because the side of a triangle always has to be positive no matter what, because it's a distance. And I was saying this was kind of messed up that we were putting negative numbers here, and then we started talking about slopes of the hypotenuse. And it's true, the relationship is negative, but really I shouldn't have said that the hypotenuse was negative because it's not. It's a relationship between the x and the y value. And this gets really easy when you start thinking about cosine as the x's and sine as the y's to figure out where things are positive and negative. In fact, we're going to make a chart that will help you make sure you get it right every time. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to quickly fill out the point here on 30. What is this x value again? It was like 0.866, right? But I want to leave it as this. Do you remember it was the square root of 3 over 2? So write it as the square root of 3 over 2. And the y value, what was that again? Look at the triangle. 1/2. And the only reason these are both positive is because they're in the first quadrant, and x's and y's are both positive in the first quadrant. I tried to teach you about positives and negatives without talking about them as x's and y's, and that was my mistake. I shouldn't have, because this is so much easier. I wish I had done it this way in the first place. It was just too much for 2 days. All right, now I want you to use that same color, not your second color, but the same color. And this time you're going to draw a straight line down from the 60, not the 45, the 60. Highlight that triangle. Put a right angle in there. Can you see it now? Can you see that this triangle is a 30-60, but this triangle is also a 30-60? It's just that this time the big angle on the inside is 60, not 30. See how it says 60 right there? Okay, so this time, if I'm drawing it in my notebook, sorry, it's so weird colored. I'm gonna draw it looking like this.